What is going on, everybody? How are you doing? Welcome back. Welcome to United vs. Everybody. This is your first time. So glad to have you here. If this is not your first time, you know the drill. Let's hit that like button. Let's subscribe if you're new. Feel free to get involved in the chat. If you guys haven't noticed, I do try to get everybody's opinion heard. That's what the channel is all about. I am your host, Sean. And we're here to talk a little bit of transfer news today. We're here to obviously preview Thursday's Europa League match. It's our final match of the league phase against FCSB, formerly Steaua Bucharest. But we're going to talk about all that and a little bit, obviously, of the big transfer news today. Apologies ahead of time if you can't tell. Still a little bit sick, but it's all good. So if I'm sniffing a lot, it's not because I pulled a David Coot and hit that snow. It's just me being sick. So it's all good. How's everybody's week going so far? It's only Tuesday, but sometimes the beginning of the week can make a difference, right? However it's going, if it's been good, celebrate it. Hey, it's been a good start to the week, right? And if it's been rough, you can always tell yourself, hey, it can get better. It doesn't mean it's going to stay rough. So however you guys' week is going, I hope it's going well. And if it's not, it's not going to stay that way. So, but let me know what's everybody getting up to this week. I am just, it's like a recovery ward in my house. It's embarrassing. My wife is now caught what I'm dealing with. My dogs are good, but they're still a little residual symptoms, but they're fine. But it's been a rough week. But it's also a big week for European football. Because tomorrow marks the final match day of the league phase for Champions League. I haven't even looked at Champions League, honestly. I haven't looked at the standings. I don't even know who's top of the table or anything. I think that it's very tight in terms of those who are qualified and those who have yet to, who are maybe right now in the round of 16 places. I think that those kind of 7th, 8th, 9th places, 10th are a little tight in Champions League. I do know that Man City literally have to win and also hope other results go their way or they're out of the Champions League next round altogether, which I got to say, if you've been watching football in the last decade, you probably never would have expected to have that be a possibility. But it is what it is, and I'm here for it. I think Aston Villa are still in the mix as well. They might have to play an extra round, but hopefully, I don't know how the coefficient works with the new format when it comes to English clubs and whatnot. So it could help us, could hurt us in the long run, but we'll be keeping an eye on City's progress, if anything. Let's see what you guys are saying. Rich, how are you doing? Long time no see, man. Good stream earlier. Had to dip out early. Obviously, had to go prepare and whatnot. But yeah, 2 signings since we last spoke. I mean, I'm not going to take credit for it, you and I, Rich, but I'm seeing maybe we could just take credit for it. It's our fault. But Rich is first in the house. Big up. And, of course, my PIC in the scouting department, Danny B. How are you, my friend? Good to see you. How are things over in Beantown? Villa playing Celtic. Are they playing Celtic? Celtic always seem to have – they're one of those clubs who – they've lost a couple of good players recently. I know Matty O'Reilly went to Brighton. I really like Matty O'Reilly a lot. Good, they lose some good players over the years. But aside from tomorrow's Champions League, obviously Thursday is the final match day of the Europa League phase. United's final chance to ensure that we qualify for the next round. We are in 4th on 15 points, but anything besides a win could see us drop down to the round of 16 in the playoffs. We're here to preview that. Again, that phase, that match tomorrow. We do travel all the way to Romania, Steaua Bucharest or FCSB are, I think they're in 8th right now with 14 points. So just a point behind us, but, 4 places behind us. So it's a big match regardless for both sides. We're both going to be doing everything we can to lock in a top 8 spot and avoid those extra fixtures, right? We want to not have to play an extra couple games if we can help it. It's a big ask for United. We don't tend to travel well, and our performances of late have not exactly been convincing. We have a few wins, yes, but still far from convincing. I mean, can you tell me? Yeah, Ahmad got a hat trick against Southampton, cool, but for 80 minutes, that was a nail biter. And Brighton, the less said about Brighton, the better. But we're going to talk team news. We're going to talk tactics. We're going to talk form, predictions, obviously, and a little bit of the latest and greatest United news. But first, as a treat, we're gonna mark the return of a mini scout report. So hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, check out the memberships too if you want to learn a little bit about how you can get more involved in the channel, including scout reports. One of the membership perks is, you get to suggest some scout reports. I'll look up the player for you, take a look at some numbers, some performances, heat maps, opta, all this stuff. Put a fun little picture of them like you're about to see in a second here, and you get credit for it. So, but that's one of the perks that you can get with the memberships, is how you can get more. It's all about trying to get you guys more involved in the channel. So Danny says, cold here in Beantown, pal. Happy about Dorgu. Not a bad price. Yeah, Dorgu ended up being a better price than was reported, which, and I'll talk a little bit about Dorgu in a second, but because I always have to balance it out with a little bit of, I don't want to call it negativity. I'll call it realism. But let's dive into the scout report. Again, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you like what you see, you want to get involved. Trying to get to that road to 3K as well. You guys, absolute legends, got us to 2K in a hurry. I believe in you. I think that I can make an educated wish and think that we can get to 3K before another year is up. So help me out. Don't make me a liar. Get it going. Let's dive into this scout report, starting with Kevin Zenon. So Danny probably knows a little bit more about him because Danny probably watches a little bit more Boca. I used to watch more Boca when Varela was there and Barco was there. I haven't watched them a whole lot in the last year or so, just not as much. I watch them every now and then, but not as much. But they do have a lot of really good players. Boca Ceballos is another good one as well. But this guy, very, very young, versatile attackers, and obviously 23, so he's not a youngster. Already up there in age, but as you can see, he can play a variety of positions on the pitch, which is good for us because we've seen guys like Ahmad kind of interchange between a wingback and a number 10 role and stuff, and I think Zenon can kind of do the same thing. You can see there is really good playmaker, really good passing range, really quick on the ball, and it's not just on paces and on a sprint. When I talk about speed, sometimes I'll distinguish between two things, quickness and pace. So pace is like your Gareth Bale, but quickness, I'm talking about how quickly you move your legs, like someone like an Ahmad or a Messi, where your legs are just moving. So it's almost like you have twice as much time to do stuff because your pace is quicker, if that makes sense. Zenon's got a high work rate. He's excellent on the ball in terms of his dribbling. And like you see, he's very versatile. So Danny says, Alisson Santana, another Brazilian we should be playing. Yeah, I saw you recommended him. I saw I was going to look him up when I got a chance here. FB Ref was messing up a little bit for me earlier. So Danny says, haven't watched much lately, but Zenon played wingback in our system perfectly. Newcastle linked with him. Yeah, he's been linked with a couple different clubs. Rich, wrapping up soon. I'll try and bring some fans in. Yeah, normally I'll usually wait maybe until Rich is done, but I appreciate that, Rich. Just scheduling wise, my schedule in my house is never consistent. I'm trying to find a more consistent schedule. It is what it is. So this was the best time to go. But so on Kevin Zenon, 6 for big chances in the 2024 season. So he created 8 big chances last season. Very good. 9th for key passes per 90. So again, creative playmaker. This is what we want. 96th percentile for chances created. So again, we need help in the final third. We need someone with movement, someone who's good on the ball, and someone who can create chances. We don't have enough of that going on right now. 6 goals, 7 assists in all comps last year, which was his first season with Boca. He wasn't always with Boca. I knew I was going to forget to do this. I completely forgot the team that he was at before Boca. It was another South American club, but he just joined Boca last year and he did it very well. 13 goal involvements in all comps. They've already played one match this season because their off season is in the winter, kind of like the Norwegian league. But he's already scored in his first match this season, so he's already picking right up where he left off. That was a Copa Argentina match. They ended up winning 5-0 over a team called Argentino Monte Mays, but he already scored in that. He tends to play in a wide area, but he does excel at drifting in wide. Again, similar to Ahmad, he's got a very, very good left foot. He can also play left back as well. The guy is straight up South American. He's got that flair. He's really quick with his feet. And if you watch him, kind of like Messi, because Messi is so good on the dribble, Zenon rides challenges very well. He gets challenged left and right. He gets knocked about left and right, but he's really good because his feet, he's like a running back in the NFL, like because he's moving his feet so well and because he knows how to keep his center of gravity low, he can ride those challenges and just keep going and not lose the ball, not necessarily always have to stop and get a free kick. He's good at just carrying on, which I really like. I think that shows me that he can handle a bit of the physicality that he might come up against in the English league. Danny says he would be smart by a low risk. He has a release clause too, I think. Yeah, this guy has got it, man. Reported €5 million release clause, Danny. He rejected a move to Hoffenheim recently as well. I think he's holding out for something a little more. He obviously, this isn't a young guy who's, 17, 18, 19 like a Messi Antonio. This is a guy who's 23. He's ready for the next step. And right now, such a low release clause. This is such an easy punt to take, honestly. Linked to United, linked with Inter Miami recently, where his former Argentina U23 coach, Javier Mascherano, is now manager as well. So the guy is excellent. So I'm looking at some of his percentile ranks here. Literally top 3% for progressive carries and successful take-ons per 90. Like I said, the guy is just a dribbling machine. It was like that's what he was created in a lab to do. And he gets high up the pitch well. So he's top 10% for touches in the opposition area and top 2% for progressive passes received. This is what we need at United. We need players who play in these wide areas who are able to carry the ball, but not only are they able to receive the ball high up the pitch and get it high up the pitch themselves. We're not doing that enough. And then he's in the top 15% for shot creating action. So again, we need players who can get the ball high up the pitch and create opportunities. We're lacking a little bit of that forward-mindedness when it comes to ball progression right now. We're taking a very long time to move the ball forward. And so I think that South American mentality, he's got the flair, the bravery. I think that could lend a little bit of something that we need in those wide areas. Hopefully he won't go the route of Anthony where he has that, but then he loses it the moment people start to challenge him a little bit. So Danny says, man, sign him up. And like Danny says, excellent work rate. Yeah, the dude just runs. He's like a little kid. Like he just runs all day. Like that's just legs and energy all day. I have nothing but time for this kid. So it's already getting a lot of suitors. Like Danny said, linked with Newcastle, linked with Inter Miami, turned down a move to Hoffenheim. Very, very low release clause, €5 million, I think. It's a no-brainer for me. But you guys let me know if you know anything more about him. Let me know what you think. Let me know if he's someone you think would fit in United. Where do you think he would fit in United? Like Danny and I think maybe in one of those wingback slots. One of those slots could be taken already, though, as we move on to some of the big transfer talk. Sorry if that's loud. Still in that phase with this cold where the longer I talk, the harder it becomes to talk. But we're all good. Let me remove this guy. Let me jump back in. Danny says, I hope he's on Pavel's radar. Hopefully. We have been linked with him, so hopefully that means we're keeping an eye on him. I mean, we've been linked to everybody, though, so you never know. But moving on to some transfer talk after the return of some mini scout reports. We finally signed someone, folks. Not official yet, but it's about as official as it gets without the photo of somebody holding up the shirt, right? Because Fabrizio Romano has given us the official here we go when it comes to Patrick Dorgu's move to Manchester United. So the reported fee is £25 million or 30 million euros, as Romano would say, with 5 million in add-ons, as Romano would say. So much lower than some of the reported prices we've seen. I think we were seeing like £35 million recently as last week, which I'm very skeptical at because I don't think he's worth that. 25 million with an extra 5 in add-ons, which is usually going to be performance-based or something, which I don't really care that much about add-ons. Nobody ever ends up cares. The only people who care are the media and rival fans when they want to use transfer fees to bash United because they want to include the add-ons and they want to talk about they've signed this player for a total of this or a price up to this. No one's going to care about add-ons because it usually means we're doing something well. It is January, so you're probably going to get a little bit of a premium in January, so it is what it is. But let me know if you guys are buzzing. I'm not quite buzzing, and it's a hard one for me, right? Because I do think we needed someone on the left. Arguably, we've needed someone on the left for the last couple of years, but it's one of those, is he better than someone like a Kirkes? Is he better than some of the other left backs we've been linked to, an Eight Nori? Or maybe we just got this one over the line now because Kirkes or somebody else is going somewhere else, or maybe they were going to be too much. You'd think that Kirkes is going to cost a little more now that he's having an excellent season. Or maybe Dorgu is our top choice. I mean, we have been linked with Dorgu for a while, pretty much since late last season. But it is a big investment nonetheless, especially in a January window, especially when we are a club who is reportedly skint, if you want to, just believe the PSR stuff. But if so, that does say a lot about how highly we rate Dorgu. Since you're not really going to see a whole lot of profit on this position unless we win some major trophies and he plays a big part in it. So, what are you guys saying here? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Everyone's jumping in. I like this. Danny says, finally signed someone I've been on for about nearly 18 months. Yeah, man. I mean, Danny, this is why you're my scout, man. I got nothing but time for your recommendations. Andrew is a loser. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Everybody's raiding. No, I appreciate, man. It's good to see some familiar faces in here. Subbed and like, says Andrew. That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for coming, checking out the channel. Apologies, I don't normally sound like this. I'm just super sick this week, but wanted to make sure I got some content. And obviously, we wanted to talk about the Dorgu news. So, Neil Driscoll, welcome back, my friend. Good to see you as well. Rob, good to see you again, my friend. How are you doing? Yeah, Rich, you brought the whole crew, man. No, I appreciate it, man. And that's the thing. It's like, channels got to help each other. There's nothing wrong with having more united channels out there. So I just love doing this. I'm not ever probably going to look at this as money or anything. I just am that big of a footy nerd that I want to make time to do this and chat with y'all. Danny says, Zenon play at Boca Junior. Yep, we just got finished up with the scout report. We were talking about the Dorgu news now. I'm trying to get everyone's thoughts on the price. I've shared some of my thoughts so far. I mean, if you guys have been following the channel for a while, but big up, Rich. Appreciate it, man. Jules in the chat too. Everybody's jumping in. I appreciate it. It's good to see you guys. So I'm going to sound pessimistic for a minute. I'm not. I'm objective is the best way I can say it. So I've been skeptical of the Dorgu deal for a while, but it's not because I don't rate him. I do rate Dorgu a lot. I think he's good. He's got physicality, especially for someone who's just 20 years old. He's like 6 foot, very physical, big, well-built guy, similar to Diego Leon. He gets really involved in the attack. Statman Dave, according to Statman Dave, he leads Serie A right now in carries that lead to a shot. So he's very involved in the attack. He's excellent at carrying the ball if you look at his numbers. My issue has just been the price. For a 20-year-old who's still very raw, it's a big ask. And he's still a bit raw when it comes to defending. He can be a little bit suspect sometimes when it's defending, especially in these 1v1s, and then even sometimes in his positional sense. He doesn't do a good enough job, in my opinion, when I've watched him play, at preventing balls from coming into the box, preventing those crosses. He makes it a little too easy for the opposition attackers to put that ball in the box, which is something that a lot of our fullbacks have done for a couple of years now. So if he wants to stand out, he's going to have to improve on that. In my opinion, he's definitely more wing than back, I guess is the way that I can put that. But what I like about him too is his versatility. He can also play on the right side. He's actually played a lot of matches as the right winger this year as well. So he can fill in wherever he's needed. If we want to put Ahmad in the 10 and maybe put Dorgu to the right, we can do that. It's nice to have that extra little string to your bow. Plus, and I'm going to sound a little nitpicky here, and you guys are going to say I'm a wet blanket or whatever. I'm Debbie Downer, whatever. I admit that transfers in general tend to lose a bit of that shine. I know we all like deadline day deals, but I'm that guy. The same way with Ugarte. I will complain about waiting till the last couple of days of a window to make a signing when I feel like that player could have made a difference had we done the signing 3, 4, or even a week earlier. There's always going to be that what if. What if we had him in place against Southampton? What if we had him in place against Brighton? What if we had him in place against any of these other teams that we played in the last month? There's always a little bit of that what if that bugs me. Now, if this were the old regime, my first instinct would be we didn't sign him that early on because we wanted to save money in wages. And that's cost us in the past when we waited too long. It's what cost us in the Antony deal. Had we signed Antony in June when we wanted him, it would have cost like 50 million less. So who knows if we could have got it done for a little less. I don't see any positives in waiting to the last second in a transfer window. But that's probably my biggest bugaboo, in my opinion. Neil says, where are you from in USA? I live in Michigan, my guy. About a half hour from everything. Everything in Michigan is like a half hour from everything. Edge IB's welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Rob says the biggest surprise for me is that we're bringing someone in before anyone really going, apart from the Anthony loan. Yeah, and that's one of my other questions for you guys. Does this mean that because of PSR, we were sold the PSR line, and Danny's gonna start throwing out the Spinios comments, but does this mean that someone's going, and maybe we're playing this a little closer to our chest in order to avoid getting fleeced? Who knows? Was it worth? Again, it's about priorities for me when it comes to how late. Are you prioritizing saving a few million by leaving it late and negotiating, or did the need for a player of that profile trump the price? That's hard. Priorities are very hard. They're very different for everybody. If you prioritize the need, then you get it done early and you maybe spend a little more. If you prioritize the price and you try to haggle to save a couple million in wages and whatnot, it's hard. That's not my job, so it's not really something that I'm going to prioritize in terms of focusing on, but it's a factor, and it's a factor that Ineos, any owner, any sporting director is going to consider. I just think overall we need to move quicker in the transfer window. And we've been poor at this for a while. This isn't just an Ineos thing. We just tend to move very slowly in the transfer window. Remember Casemiro? It was a couple matches into that first season before we got Casemiro. And then because Erik ten Hag is a little dogmatic when it comes to getting players bedded into tactics, getting them fit and whatnot. We saw it with Casemiro. We saw it with Ugarte. I hope Amorim is not the same way with a new signing. Like City just signed a couple players, and two of them literally just started the other day. Like Kushinov, Marmoush both just started. And so I hope it's not like that. But the other interesting thing is, and you guys let me know your thoughts on this, is so far in this window, we've signed 3 players, all of whom left-footed, all of whom defenders. Now, one of them is a youngster who the rumor is he could be in line to be in and around the first team picture. We don't know yet. Leon, youngster, can't join us till the summer until he's 18, so he's not really here. And now we got Dorgu, another left-footed. So that's a little interesting to me, but I want to know what your thoughts are. Does this mean Dallo can now maybe play right back a little bit more? Let me know your thoughts on all that. Let me see. Neil says, I have cousins in San Diego and Reno, Nevada. Nice. I hear San Diego is very, very nice. Interesting. And Rich says, maybe someone's off soon. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It could be anybody. I mean, Malacia he's gotten some minutes under Amorim, obviously. I think he was playing at right back the other day when he came on. Who knows? Could be anyone's guess. I doubt Shaw's going anywhere soon. It's got to be someone like it. You imagine maybe Casemiro, Eriksson, Malacia, one of those guys might be heading out the door. I don't know, but it's interesting. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the Dorgu deal. Too much money? Did we wait too long? Do you like the player? Do you guys watch a lot of Serie A? I don't watch as much Serie A as I used to. I have watched more Lecce. I started watching Lecce more when they had Morten Holman, because I did a scout report on Morten Holman when he was at Lecce before he joined Sporting. So they do uncover some hidden gems out there in these smaller clubs. But Box, good to see you, my friend. Hope you are doing well. And Rob says, I hope it's not Garnacho. Yeah, I don't know if Garnacho is going anywhere anytime soon. He's been playing a little bit more. He's been playing in those 10 roles. Amorim has had some good things to say about him recently. Neil says, would like a striker in January. I think we'd all like a striker right now. I don't know necessarily if a striker alone is going to make a difference, though I bet not a whole lot of. I think most players in football would have probably had a better touch than Højlund did the other day. That was a disgrace. Like, you guys know that I love Højlund, and I'm willing to be patient, and I've gone on, but I can't defend his touch the other day. He was getting worse and worse as the match went on. I think he's just getting in his own head, but that was embarrassing. Jules says, how long you be streaming for? I need to take a call. I mean, you never know, Jules, how long we go for. I try to get everybody's comments in. The more people commenting, the longer the stream goes. Plus, we're not even halfway through the transfer news yet, so we still got the match preview to look at. So you probably got what time? You probably got another 45 minutes at least. But Danny says the Dorgu deal is a good deal. I think had we signed him for the initial prices that were thrown out there, I'd probably be a little more upset. I do get more upset about the prices, and I know some people are like, it's not your money, what do you care? I kind of have to care because of the fact that we are skint, and because we've overpaid for so many players in the last decade. We are in the PSR situation we're in. Overpaying for more players, continuing to do that it's not going to help us. It's just going to kick the can down the road more. So we have to start being smarter with this, with these deals. The wages are fine. I think he's going to be on like $30K, which I don't have a problem with the wages whatsoever. that's fine for me. So, but seems like a good deal overall. Hopefully he can hit the ground running because yes, it wasn't as much as we wanted to pay, but for 25 million plus another 5 in add-ons, you'd have to think that maybe they think he's ready enough to be in and around the first team picture. So we'll see how it goes. Time will tell, but obviously we'll be back to talk about that one when it is made official. So we're going to move on a little bit because we do have another defender coming in. So this is also coming from Fabrizio Romano. This is at least where I first saw it from. He also gave us the here we go on a swoop for another Arsenal youngster, this time Aiden Heaven. So this is a story that Romano first was talking about last week. 18-year-old center back. Arsenal are trying to get him tied down. Other clubs are interested. It does sound like we've swooped again, just like we did for Cheeto Obi Martin. Medical's been booked. Agreements basically all set in stone. Here we go, like we said. And I know Cheeto Obi Martin will know Aiden Heaven from their time at Arsenal. And Cheeto did post a fun message on Instagram earlier talking about, if you guys saw that. This was Cheeto Obi Martin's Instagram. It says Agent Obi getting it done, man. I have nothing time for that. It's the Lord's work you're doing out here, Cheeto. Not only in front of net, Cheeto. I did see Cheeto in person last week. I was at Lee Sports Village for the Academy's FA Youth Cup match against Preston North End. Gotta tell you, the dude's a unit, and you can tell he's a level above everybody. His positioning, he moves like a striker who's been playing for years. He's not just moving just to move when he's in and around the box. He's waiting for the right moment to move to the right spot, because it's like he can sense where he needs to be when that ball finally gets in there. He's got really good vision, really good reading of the game for such a young striker. I'm really excited about this kid. Plus, like I said, the dude is massive. He's like the biggest dude on the pitch. Aside from Jolie and Lescott's son, I forget his name, but he plays for Preston North End. That dude's freaking huge too. But yeah, Obi Martin was an absolute beast of a player. Bach says, I'm very cautious of any signing these days. I mean, we're all a little cautiously optimistic with these signings. For every, Ugarte, there's an Anthony. And so it is what it is. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, Nicola Pepe, when he signed for Arsenal, was one of the highest rated wingers in Europe. And I don't even know where he's playing these days. So, Rob Taff says, I'm just happy we have a left wing back with height. Yeah, the dude he's 6 foot. And if you look at his numbers, he actually is in the top 5% for aerial duels, both when you compare him to fullbacks and when you compare him to wingers. So he's winning a lot of aerial duels per 90. Agile B says, yeah, quick and tall left wing back who will help with Martinez. He reminds me a lot of Denzel Dumfries, who was at PSV and then went to Inter Milan. That's who he reminds me a lot of. Now, he's obviously is much younger than Denzel Dumfries, but very similar play style. Justin in the chat. Justin was with me when we were at Lee Sports Village. Justin, let him know about Cheeto, man. Let him know you were with me. You saw it live and in person. Danny says, that's the kid Rasmus smoked in preseason, then got injured. He looks good, though. Yeah, the Aiden kid. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal want to keep giving us their youngsters. I have no problem. They're a joke. The more they do that. But, yeah, that was back when Rasmus was better than he look now. The good old days, right? Seems like an eternity ago. Box says, I think a lot of these young deals from Premier League clubs and vice versa are ways, means to make profit and to help with FFP and PSR. I mean, we're not really paying a fee for Aiden Heaven in the sense of a transfer fee, the same way we didn't pay a transfer fee for Cheeto. What we paid is like a development compensation, basically just a thank you for, hey, training him, basically. I don't know what you want to call it. It's nothing. It's a couple $100,000, I think, that we pay. But you could be. I think Box. I think that some of that, when I read that comment, that makes me think of some of these random guys that move between like Villa and whatnot over the summer that went like no names that literally went for like 30-35 million. I'm like, come on, you're not even trying to hide it, guys. Neil says, how many hours are you behind us in the UK? I am 5 hours behind you guys. So you guys can tell me the future. Let me know what happens in the morning. So I'm not surprised. I don't like surprises. Agile B says, I'm now wary of Danish strikers. We'll give Rasmus time. Obviously, I have some thoughts on Rasmus too. I'm going to get to those in a little later. You guys are going to roll your eyes, but I have thoughts on Rasmus. I have been critical of him, especially in this last match, but I have thoughts on Rasmus. So Rob says Arsenal very given. They are the gift that keeps on giving, man, whether you want banter or whatnot, man. Justin says Cheeto is the truth. Dude is big. He has talent for knowing where to be when the team has the ball and gets into position quickly. It's like Cheeto is like, as soon as you get the ball in the opposition half, Cheeto just knows, like, all right, I need to start finding the spot. He's just already figuring out where the best spot to be is, and I like that about him. Neil says Brock's my cousin's 9 hours behind me in the UK. Yikes. And lives in the USA. Yeah, I mean, San Diego is, I think, 3 hours behind me out in California. So let me know if you guys are excited about some of this transfer business. We are leaving it late, but we are getting some players in. And it's nice to see us get a lot of youngsters over the last 6 months or so. Guys like Sekou Kone, Lusele, and then obviously cheated Obi Martin, and now we've Aiden Heaven. We've even like a year ago, we were already kind of started building with guys like James Overy and whatnot. And so we have the academy is very, very strong right now. And we haven't even gotten to see a whole lot of them yet. Justin says Cheeto finds space. Pretty sure he scored a goal or two at the game we were at. Yeah, he got in on the score sheet. That was a good game. Lee Sports Village. If you guys are interested in checking out the academy or anything, it's like a 20-25 minute Uber ride from Manchester, or at least from where we were by Old Trafford. It's like £20 for a hospitality ticket, so you get a shared suite, you get some food and stuff. It's free drinks. You get a private exit out to a private set of bleachers. It's definitely worth the £20 to go check it out. If you have the time when you're there, if you get a chance to go there, and if you ever go to Manchester and you're looking for a nice place to stay, I put a link to the Airbnb where Justin and I stayed in the video description. Super cheap. Super close to everything by Old Trafford. It's right by a tram stop as well. Tesco, we found out, is open at 6 a.m. for breakfast, which I got to say was fire. It was awesome. So, but yeah, go check that out if you get a chance. We're going to move on because we got some more news today from Fabrizio. Fabrizio is on one today, but he dropped some news today. Doesn't necessarily have to do with United, but it kind of does. So he says that Matthias Tell, who is a Bayern Munich attacker, has decided to leave Bayern this month. Bayern and Tell will assess the options right now in the market. Chelsea wanted Tell the beginning of January, but there's also a lot more clubs interested. Now, if you remember from last year, we were reportedly interested in Matthias Tell last February. And we even made contact with Bayern regarding Matthias Tell. That was according to Florian Plettenberg at the time. Would you take Matthias Tell? I know I would. I absolutely love Matthias Tell. Dorkily enough, when I was doing an FC24 career mode last year and I made Julian Nagelsmann United manager, I brought Matthias Tell with me from Bayern. I've wanted this guy at United for a while. I really like Matthias Tell. He's a really good young attacker, versatile, can pretty much play anywhere across the front line. I really like him a lot. Pacey as well. Neil says, yeah, the women play there. They do play there. They share it. It's the home of the Lee Leopards, which is a rugby team, I guess. It's very, very nice facility, to be honest. Honestly, in terms of the bathrooms and stuff, nicer than Old Trafford, but it is what it is. But you guys let me know what you think about Matthias Tell. Danny says we should try to get him, but we won't. If we could even just get him on a loan with like an obligation or an option or something, I'd be okay with that as well. Because I really like him a lot. I think having another option wouldn't be the worst thing. Bach says, didn't Tell recently sign a new contract. I don't know if he signed a new contract. Again, we're just talking about where Fabrizio Romano is reported today and says that he wants to leave Bayern this month. So not getting as much playtime as he wants. Probably the issue there. It's never a good sign when, you've got Harry Kane and then they sign Michael Olise and stuff. It's just like when they're signing all these center backs. They had just signed some center backs and then they kept signing more. It was like, that can't be a good sign. Agileby says, yes, Tell on loan, not a permanent. I will look up what his contract situation is and see what we got here. He did sign an extension set to run until 2027, but he signed it till 2029. And so he's got that contract. But the problem is, and what could be good for any club that's interested, so good call on that one, Box, is that if a player basically like Rashford comes out and says, I want to leave, basically, then that kind of hurts your selling power, right? But maybe they'll pull like what Amorim did and just won't play him. I don't know. Composed View, welcome, my friend. Good to see you again. ATP, the players. What does ATP mean? The players we bought are enough for a full squad. We need players to come into this team now. Yeah, I think that, again, it's questionable whether or not Dogu is ready right now for this level. I think for 25 million, though, at 20 years old, you probably think he is. I mean, Kirkes is younger. He's playing, full time, for Bournemouth, but Lecce is not United. So we're going to see. I like Dogu. I think he's got the physicality that I think he can handle the Premier League. Right now, it's because he's still young. He's raw in many areas of his game, particularly defending. So we'll see how it goes. But I think his physicality can get him out of some trouble, where he has time to maybe learn some of that. Agile says if he does well, then I'm off for signing him on a permanent. Yeah, I have no problem with Matthias Tell. I really like Matthias Tell. Like I said, I've liked him for a while. So, but you guys let me know what you think. I don't watch a lot of Bayern Munich because I can't. There's a cognitive dissonance seeing Vincent and company on the dugout for Bayern Munich that I still can't get over. That I laugh every time I see, but maybe that's just the tribalism in me. I don't know, but a little bit of wrap up on transfer news before we dive into this match preview. Again, hit the like button if you haven't yet. If you guys are liking some of these links, Sky Italy reported this morning that Roma have asked for information regarding Casemiro. Casemiro can't seem to get a minute these days after he's basically dropped below Toby Collier in the pecking order. But I think that's going to happen, though. You're going to drop below Toby Collier when he's playing so well. I read a stat yesterday that Toby Collier is the first United midfielder in 20 years to record more than 50 passes in his first appearance at Old Trafford in European competition, while also maintaining a 94% pass rating. So, I mean, it's a really obscure stat, right? But it's a stat nonetheless. So this was against Rangers this week. So Collier, to me, he's got the physicality. He knows how to read the game. He's not afraid to get stuck in. I think he's going to be a really good player for us moving forward. I think that he, Kavi, Ugarte can really be a good three in the midfield to rotate and whatnot and interchange with each other. We can get another person in there who's maybe a little older, someone who does have a little bit more physicality, someone who's got a little bit more playmaking, like a Hackney. I think could be a really good complementary signing in there. Box says Bayern got battered by Feyenoord last week. Good. Box says it's crazy that a Saudi team doesn't come in for Casemiro. He'd be a real coup, a big name, a model professional for the league. Yeah, it's so point. Composed View, thank you for clarifying that. I'm old, so I don't know sometimes what the acronyms are. I've never seen an acronym for at this point, though, to be in my defense. But thank you for clearing that up because I was completely gone on that one. But yeah, Box, it's so weird to me that, and I know the Saudi league, remember, they do have a limited amount of foreign players that each club can have. And not every club in the Saudi league is the big clubs, right? They're not all the Al Hilal, the Al Ali, the Al Nassers. They're not all that. There are so many clubs in that league that some of us probably never even heard of because they don't have that kind of money rolling around. So it's interesting. I think with the Saudi league, because it's kind of a collective, they try to get a lot of these players in a few different clubs. So they can kind of make those clubs the thing. So, but I know some of these Saudi clubs have also recently released some players. I remember we spoke about Al Nassr releasing Talisca like 3 weeks ago. We talked about that. I feel like I saw them linked with someone else as well. I can't remember who, but I think Neymar is actually going back to Santos, if I read that earlier. So that's interesting. I think he's not played very much since he's gone to the Saudi league, and they're paying him like 150 million a year. So Neymar, if there's one player that I'm like, dude, you could have been great and you just wasted it. I always think of Neymar. Like, he had everything at his feet and he just chose poorly. It's mentality. This is why mentality is the most important thing, you guys. It doesn't matter how good you are with the ball at your feet. If you're not good up here, it's not going to make a difference. Rob says Collier is looking good. Crucial clearance off the line the other day. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. Honestly, that clearance is more important to securing the 3 points than Leach's goal. Defending, being able to defend, and honestly, like I said yesterday, that clearance, his awareness to be in that situation, to know where the danger is going to be, and to kind of keep in mind that we're usually vulnerable in these situations. Onana didn't do anything. Onana just stood there rooted to the spot. just watching it go by like he always does. But Collier on it's toss up, man of the match. That moment in itself could have pushed him for man of the match for a lot of people. Boxes, if they went for Conte, who's showing signs of age, surely they go for Casemiro. Yeah, I mean, part of me thinks it's just a party. It's just a vacation in the Saudi League, right? Everyone's just kind of chilling, and they show up to a match, and then they go home at the end of the day. Agile B says, yeah, I was giddy about that 25 million from Saudi a couple weeks ago, but deep down I always knew that story was bullshit. Yeah, I mean, Saudi League, they went hard in the paint that first year or so, and then they haven't really done much since. So we'll see what happens with Casemiro. But if Roma are interested, I mean, I think the appeal of maybe playing in Europe could be something for Casemiro to consider. I don't know. Like, he's still on like 375K a week. I don't know who's going to pay that. So Box says, I saw Anderson Talisca left Al Nassr this week, and they were giving Boniface, that's who it was, Box, Boniface, a medical. That one was interesting to me, that Boniface is going to the Saudi League. It's more and more of these young players are going too. It reminds me of when Oscar went to the Chinese Super League. You guys remember that? I don't even know where Oscar is anymore, but he was only, 22, 23, 24 when he went? That's insane. Like Agile B says, yeah, Neymar frees up a foreign start bot. So I think the Saudi League's starting to make some moves as well. Composed View says, eventually we might have to sell Onana. If we're not already thinking about what we want to do to replace Onana, now I'm not saying if we're not thinking about selling him in this summer, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when any player reaches 28, 27, 28, you need to start having a plan. You need to start identifying and possible replacements. You need to see who's in the academy and whatnot, what kind of deals, what kind of other contracts for other keepers around are starting to run out and run low, maybe putting out the feelers. If we're not already doing that for Onana, because he is 28, 28, 29, then we are not doing well. But I think we have one already in VTech who is out on loan, but you guys let me know what you think. Neil says, we need a better goalkeeper than Onana. And like Danny says, VTech. Yeah, I don't have Onana starting in my predicted 11, or at least in my preferred 11, we'll call it, for tomorrow. So we're still running through transfer news right now. Boxes, I think Oscar is still in China, the last man standing. That's insane. If he's still in China, that's insane. But yeah, like Danny says, VTech. I'd take VTech back here in a heartbeat. If Onana doesn't shape up, if Onana is going to keep showing that he can't mentally recover and maintain consistency when he makes mistakes or when he's in a bad run of form, then that to me is a worry. Again, the mentality thing is a bigger worry than me. But VTech is doing bits on loan right now, and so Danny says I think Amorim moves Onana on once he sees VTech. Now the only thing that I think that keeps Onana in Amorim's good graces is that he is a keeper who plays out from the back. He is a keeper who's comfortable on the ball, and that is a big component to Ruben Amorim's system. Now, Vitek is a traditional keeper in many senses, but he's more of a Van der Sar than he is an Onana, if that makes sense. He's more of a Van der Sar than an Ederson. He's more of a shot stopper. He's more of a commander of the area. I'm gonna claim these crosses. I'm gonna come out and clear this, like that. He's an older type of goalkeeper. But he's still good. Give me a goalkeeper who can make a save any day over one who can pick a pass. But that's just me. I know modern football is a little different, but that's just my preference. Box says, do we have a buyback on Kovar? Could have VTech and Kovar as the two GKs offload on it. When we got rid of Kovar, I was so sad. I didn't think it's one thing to get rid of De Gea, like whatever, it is what it is. But we had Kovar chilling, who had just had a really good season on loan with Sparta. Like, we didn't need to spend however much we spent on Onana, in my opinion. I'm not trying to bash Onana. I'm just saying it's just another example of poor spending unnecessarily, in my opinion. I'd rather put up with a young keeper for a year or two like we did with De Gea and see what he can do than just waste 50, 60 million on a keeper in their late 20s. But again, everyone's going to have an opinion, and that's just mine. Composed View, I think it has to do with the money the Saudi League is offering for some of these players. They might not make that much in their career, and they probably have a large family to take out of poverty. I mean, I doubt Casemiro's family is in poverty. He's been playing Real Madrid for a decade, and he's getting paid nearly 400K a week at United. I think he and his family are probably doing just fine. I doubt that I don't know how much. Wasn't like 600K or something? The rumor was the Saudi league fees. Danny says Amorim played young keeper at Sporting, I think, right? Who was a keeper at Sporting? I don't remember off the top of my head now. Yeah, I have no clue. Danny says Harrison good too, but not ready for another year. Yeah, Vitek. Remember Vitek started against, I think it was against Rosenborg in our preseason, and I think we won that match. And then he went out on loan. So, so Casemiro potentially going to Roma. Let me know your thoughts, because we're going to dive into this match preview. It's not going to be a super long match preview because I'm not going to lie, not a whole lot of information out there on FCSB, or formerly known as Steaua Bucharest, other than what I can see from what they've done in Europa League. I don't like to compare domestic form to Europa League form. I like to look at just the Europa League form because I think that's going to be a better indicator. So they stand between us, though, and assured qualification of the next round in the Europa League. As I said, they are on 8th right now, so they're just inside the qualificating. Did I just say qualificating? Just forget the last 5 seconds of your life for a second. I swear I have an advanced degree. They are in 8th and with 14 points, just a point behind us. The table is very, very tight right now, but they are also unbeaten in their last 4 European matches. They've scored just 10 goals, which is the lowest amount in the top 8 when it comes to scoring goals. But 4 of these goals, also nearly half of them, were in their first match of the Europa League campaign against a Latvian club. Recently, they also put 3 past Qarabağ. So 7 of their 10 goals they've scored have literally been in just 2 matches. One of them was the very first match, and one of them was the very last match. They've kept 4 clean sheets, though, in 7 matches. So not bad defensively when it comes to keeping clean sheets. We want to watch out for the central midfielders. They can be a handful because they're center midfielders, though they play a 4-2-3-1, and their double pivot and their 10 tend to get highly involved in the goals, especially I forget his name. Adrian Schutt, I think his name is. He's lines up as a DM, but he gets high up the pitch. He presses high. He wins the ball. He had a couple of assists, I think, in the last match. 2 of their goals against Qarabağ were from set pieces, which weren't necessarily direct from set pieces, but of a failure to clear the ball, which we know United do struggle at times to do. We have a hard time clearing the ball, and it nearly cost us against Fulham when it dropped to Munoz. Thankfully, he skied it, but we need to do better at clearing the ball. But to be honest, Qarabağ are worse at defending set pieces than we are. If you watch some of the highlights from that match, especially those 2 goals that FCSB scored on those set pieces, Qarabağ's defending was terrific. It's hard to think a team that can be like more passive at defending a corner than we are, but Qarabağ somehow made it worse. Like, they take the cake there. So yes, Adrian Schutt, he bagged a brace in that game, the midfielder. And then their attacking midfielder, Florin Tanasi, he has 2 assists right now in this Europa League. So he gets involved. Like I said, their midfielders get involved. They get the ball wide, they move it up, and then they get everyone else involved. Their striker, Berlia, has 3 goals, but he also hasn't scored in Europe in 3 months. And he hasn't scored in all competitions in a month. So he's a younger striker, not exactly a prolific striker. But let me see what you guys are saying here. Agile Beast says Casemiro is co-owner of Spanish club Marbella. Interesting. Did not know that. Composed View says not Casemiro, but someone like Boniface. What are you guys talking about? Casemiro has accomplished what most footballers won't and has money, hence his reluctance to join the Saudi Pro League. I mean, Ronaldo was the same, and Ronaldo went and joined the Saudi Pro League, but nobody wanted to buy Ronaldo. It seems like there are a few people that are interested in Casemiro. Box says, the only player I recognize is Vlad Shirches, ex-Tottenham, Napoli, Sassuolo. Yep, a lot of us, that'll probably be the only name we recognize. Again, difficult to find a whole lot of info on FCSB because I don't follow Romanian football, but not Casemiro, but someone like Boniface, says Composed View. So again, typically they're going to set up in a 4-2-3-1. It also kind of shifts to a 4-1-4-1, depending on or off the ball. Again, their number 10, Tanasi, he is their creative outlet. Adrian Schutt, again, DM, but he does press high up the pitch. He can cause problems. We got to keep an eye on the movement, especially in that final third. Again, they get the ball wide, they get it forward. That's what you can expect to see. But defensively, they can be a little frail, a little switched off. Against Qarabağ, simple failure to just take care of a simple little short lob pass over the top saw them concede goals. I mean, that's the kind of ball that Ahmad's going to feast on. And if FCSB can defend like they did like in that situation against Karabakh, Ahmad's going to cook. They're quite vulnerable to those long balls over the top. They conceded 2 goals from those same situations. So if we can get some speed, some tenacity, because Ahmad has a tendency to fight for those balls and create something. Garnacho's done that a couple times. You saw it in the FA Cup final last year. I think we could get something from that. We just have to make the runs. We have to have movement. We have to play the pass when we're making the runs because we're too slow. We're too hesitant to get the ball forward. And if we don't do something about that soon, it's going to cost us. We're going to miss out on chances. It seems like when we do get the ball forward, we do keep the momentum going, we create opportunities for ourselves. We just don't do it enough right now. And when we do, the striker needs to get involved because Højlund's a little too stagnant for me these days. We saw last year, though, and even earlier this season, we were getting the ball into the box a little more frequently. And last season, Højlund was getting a lot of movement in the box. We're just not getting it into that final phase of attack as frequently. And when we do, it's usually because one person is carrying it up the pitch, like Ahmad, for instance. And so let me see what you guys are saying here. Rob, it's a huge game on Thursday. Lose and we're in the playoffs. Yeah, that's why the title is anything but a win is, not enough. We have to win. That's all there is to it. And Black Box says, yeah, Rangers beat them 4-0. Yeah. I mean, they're not the best team, but this is exactly the kind of situation that can cause us because we played FC Emmen, who probably many people didn't even hear of, and they got us to a 1-1 draw. We do struggle against some of these sides. I mean, we nearly got dipped out of the FA Cup to Coventry last season. I'm not trying to disrespect, but it's just these are the kind of teams that if you're not prepared, we don't travel well. They're at their home. They are feisty. They are going to be physical. They are going to be up for it. Exactly the kind of opposition that can bloody our nose if we're not alert. We need to go out strong. We need to start switched on from the opening whistle. Get a couple goals in the first 20, 25 minutes, hopefully. And not saying take your foot off the gas, but keep the momentum going. It's a foundation to build on. Danny says, do you think Ahmad starts? I don't think we can afford not to start strong, personally. But it's going to be. But my starting 11 is, you might not call it the strongest starting 11, but some of it has to do with potential team news. We won't know for sure until tomorrow's presser, but I didn't feel like waiting for the presser. They're usually pretty boring anyway. Box says, it's a tricky game for them to be 8th with 1 game left shows that, yeah, the new format is so strange. The fact that City don't even look for sure like they're going to qualify is insane to me right now. But yeah, we need strikers. We need to see something from strikers. Now, I don't know if Højlund's going to start per se, but whether he starts or if he comes off the bench, we got to see something better, which isn't hard to do, but something better than we saw against Fulham. I was talking about Højlund with someone earlier, and during that chat, I thought about something that I hadn't really thought of before, but it makes a little bit of sense now. So the question is, what if the reason Højlund is still struggling with the basics is because he developed so early physically that he hasn't really developed tactically or technically, if that makes sense. So think back to his time at Atalanta. He was still a teenager, 18 years old, was brought in just, again, as a young future potential star, right? Thrown into the first team right away. And because he was already pretty physically developed and because he was already very fast, that's basically how Atalanta played him. They said, oh, we're just run, get on the end of it, carry the ball, score. He's big, he's fast. That's what they did. Literally nothing with hold-up play, nothing with tactics, nothing with when to move here, position and stuff. It was just a lot of counterattacks, literally sprinting from his half to the opposition half. Last season, we saw glimpses of this movement in and around the box. You could see he was constantly trying to get on the end of stuff. And he caused a lot of damage there last season, like I said. But under Amorim, it's been a different system. Just getting involved on the ball a lot deeper, just inside the opposition half. Very different. Amorim's system asks completely different things of his strikers, and it's going to ask completely different things of a young striker who, during that developmental time in the first team football, he wasn't really learning that kind of stuff. It doesn't help that we're not getting the ball in those advanced areas, but that's just something that I thought of, and it was like, I wonder if that has something to do with this. Maybe he's just now, for really the first time in his career, getting some tactical stuff that he never really got a chance. It doesn't excuse the poor touches, mind you. I'm not saying it excuses that. I'm just saying maybe there's something there when it comes to just the positional stuff and the movement. Because Amorim said, sometimes he's still learning when to move, when not to move. Is he too close? Does he need to make a run? Some of that stuff, I just don't think Hoyland's ever really been coached because he just hasn't had to, if that makes sense. And yeah, like Bach says, he looks very low on confidence. Yeah, you could tell he was getting inside his own head at Fulham because it was just getting, I think it doesn't help that he literally is just getting pushed and pulled around. I think he's fouled more than is actually called personally for me. But I don't think he needs to get that tight to defenders personally. He's just asking for the foul at that point. He's got the pace. I think maybe because he's young and he's been bullied around a little bit. Maybe he's a little not backing himself and he's afraid to make those runs. But it doesn't help too that we're not playing the passes enough. But like Danny says, yeah, his confidence is definitely shattered against Fulham. His focus was just gone against Fulham. But again, maybe credence to this again because Amorim was talking about this. So he said he was watching. So Amorim sat down with journalist Fred Cardera recently, and he said, "I was watching Fulham's game for a second time. The positions are there, but there are a lot of routines missing. There's no time to train the routines. They're trying to do it, but without the routines, there's no aggressiveness in the moves. With the ball, especially with the ball. Without the ball, it's easier. There are a lot of rules without the ball. It's easier to explain. With the ball, it has a lot to do with understanding the space, what the opponent is doing. And so it says it's been hard. He says without training, it's impossible. I would say they're going to be doing the positions we want, the idea we want, to try to have more of the ball. But a lot is missing, and that's felt in the lack of opportunities. The lack of routines is very noticeable. So Amorim is even saying, like, a lot of the movement, a lot of the lack of that clinical edge, that progression is due to a lack of training, basically. He says there's a lot of talking about what's going to work, not a lot of doing. It's like you can't call yourself a chef just because you read a recipe book. You got to actually get in there and do it, and you're going to make mistakes and stuff. So it's interesting. But I like that Amorim is trying to explain the situation a little bit. So, but you guys let me know. I know a lot of people, not accusing anyone, but Hoyland is splitting, opinions these days, and I get it. I totally get it. I think there's a difference, though, between being critical of performances and then kind of asking for him to be sold already. But again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. You guys let me know what you think. But I want to know how you guys think we should line up tomorrow. Obviously, we're not going to know who's going to be in or out until the presser comes out. But this is what I was thinking. Again, just fooling around a little bit based on some injury news and whatnot, and maybe a bit of rotation. But you guys let me know what you think. This is how I would go with. So, as you can see, no Ugarte. Ugarte was taken off. I think he had a little bit of a knock. I'm not saying it's anything serious, but we're not going to know until tomorrow what that's going to look like. But I think that Collier has shown, at least against Rangers too, with the way he played, I think he can deputize. And as you can see, I actually have Eriksson starting instead of Mainu again. None of this means that I don't rate or I think anyone's playing poorly. It's just for the sake of rotation, because we have seen from Eriksson early on this season, especially, there was that run of games where he was arguably one of our best players. He was getting stuck in, he was winning things, he was causing problems in movement. He's come on recently a couple times. I think he could come in and play for Mainu very easily. I want Ahmad playing, but I don't want Dallo playing right now, because Dallo's 1v1 defending has been garbage recently. Let me see what you guys are saying. Bach says, I persist with Hoyland as a long-term player, but we need a new starting nine. Yeah, he shouldn't be the starting nine, personally. He wasn't supposed to be. He wasn't even supposed to be that at Atlanta. Did we overpay a little bit? Probably, but it is what it is. You're going to these days. But we also were trying to get another striker. It is what it is. I think we definitely need to get someone a little older, someone like your Gyökeres, your Jonathan David, someone in that ilk. I'm not saying Jonathan David is as good as Gyökeres, but I would go get Gyökeres personally. Danny says, give him next season, but he can't be first choice. Yeah. And that's the thing. He's going to be getting to an age now where the changing in coaching doesn't help because there's all new coaches, but he's getting to an age now where the time is going to be running out, and it's unfair, but that's football. It just is what it is. Box likes that team. Let me know what you guys think. RSV, big up RSV. How are you doing? Danny says probably rest Ahmad Mazraoui. I don't know. I mean, in an ideal world, Danny, I would. And I've said this a couple times. Like in the ideal world, we would already be qualified. We would have turned at least one of those other draws into a win, and we wouldn't be in this mess right now. And we could rest some of these players. We can't. I'm of the ilk where in this situation, I'd rather start strong, get up a couple goals, and maybe make some changes. Now, again, we've seen that doesn't necessarily guarantee anything, like against Coventry when we were up 3-0 in like the 76th minute and ended that game in a shootout. But I think we should be able to do this. An argument could be made maybe to start Dallo on the right instead of Ahmad. I could see that. Maybe to start Malacia if you want, but it's up to you guys. I'm just, like I said, I like to start strong. I did start Xerxes in this one, just simply because I think that while I do think Højlund is the better finisher, I do think that Xerxes offers a little bit more off the ball in terms of just movement. I think he wants to get on the ball. He wants to chase. He wants to cause a lot of problems. And then I've got, I started Bayendir in this one because I do think that Bayendir might be the cup keeper under Amorim. He started in the League Cup. He started against Rangers as well. I do think that is something we might be seeing. Rich says team looks good. Yeah, we'll see. Again, there's nothing really analytical or anything that goes into this. Some of it's just rotation. Some of it is just form. And then some of it is just fitness, seeing who's might be ready, because Ugarte is the only one maybe who might not be ready. But Rob says looks good, especially at a game on Sunday. Yeah. Now, I also don't like to keep one eye on another game. I like to handle the game in front of us, but that's why I want to get started strong on this one. RSV says, I've given Højlund enough chances and ran out of patience. Yikes. Everyone forgets about Højlund's season last year. He was our top scorer last year. I think that should buy him a little more time. We can be critical of the performance, but everyone's, again, got your own opinion. Rob says, Lion looks good, especially if a game. So sorry, I read that one. RSV says, his inability to hold the ball, his bad first touch, and not knowing when to drop deep is evidence. He killed the attacking momentum versus Fulham by not being able to unlock Diallo and Garnacho. Yeah. And I think I hear it all. It's all valid, but all these things can be true. Like, Højlund can need to do better at some of those basics, but the fact remains that that's also not his profile. He's not a back to goal hold up striker. Personally, he is as big as he is pace and space. He is the Vardy. He is that kind of striker, the Lois Openda kind of striker, the Darwin Nunez kind of striker. I'm going to run, but he needs to do that more and stop trying to. Now, if that's a tactical thing or not, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but he needs to do better in that regard. Danny B says, swap Eriksen and Bruno, play Bruno in 8. Eriksen's legs are gone. I thought of that too, and maybe putting Ahmad in the 10 and maybe starting Dallo on the right. I'm still struggling to like Bruno in the 8 personally, simply because he's not press resistant at all. He's not physical at all. I'm not saying Eriksen is, but I think that Collier and Mazraoui can help a little bit. But again, there's no science that goes into this. This is so. You guys remember, I used to really not even do starting 11 predictions just because I'm like, it's so random, but it is what it is. RSV says, I would give Xerxes time. He does seem to have a better first touch and has better IQ than Højlund, even though he's also been a bit underwhelming. Yeah, Xerxes is also older, and so he's going to have a couple of years of experience on Højlund in terms of just playing and having that time against defenders and whatnot. Rob says, strikers just need a goal to end the drought. Even the best, like Shearer, had dry patches. Yeah, I mean, and I've said it a couple times. If you go back and look at where some of the best strikers recently were and what their numbers were and whatnot when they were Højlund's age, guys like Kane, Thierry Henry, Salah, Robin van Persie, even when he was that age. I mean, Robin van Persie, his first 3 seasons at Arsenal when he was like older, you combine any of those 2 seasons, those 2 of those first 3 seasons at Arsenal, his goals were not as good as Højlund's were. So it's just, not saying Højlund's better. I'm just saying everybody develops differently, and you can see why Højlund was so highly rated, because he was. But I'm thinking, that's why I said yesterday, maybe he's regressing to the mean. Maybe what we saw was a flash, and now he's getting back to where he is developmentally. I don't know. I have no explanation for it personally. Box says, I'd start Gore, push Eriksen in 10, Garnacho at left wing back, rest Mazraoui. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take this off the screen now. Danny says, give Xerxes time. Yeah, I think some of these players, like, there are some players that we give time and some players we don't. Like, Anthony's time was up. I think Casemiro and Eriksen are probably on their last legs. Malassi I'd probably be okay getting rid of. Dallo just doesn't suit the system, and he's not been super great even to start the season. Things like that. Lindelof is probably on his way out as well. Obviously, Rashford's probably gone too. Danny says, $100 Gore doesn't play this season. He never will. Yeah, how old is Dan Gore now? Because he was involved in the first team in Ten Hag's in that preseason last season too. How old is he? He's 20. Yeah, if Dan Gore, if he's 20 years old and he's not at least going out alone or he's not in and around the first team picture, I think that has the potential to be another kind of Tahith Chong kind of situation. Bach says, I see Collier as a senior man now, so Gore would be the only youth starting. Danny says, has he trained with Amorim yet, Box, the first team? I know a couple of the youngsters have. Obviously, Collier. Kukonki's been in and around the first team a little bit. Who else? We had one of the Fletchers on the bench, I thought, didn't we, a while back? I can't remember. RSV says, Hoyland also doesn't know when to make the right runs into the box to be our main poacher. He always tries to manhandle the opposition CB while trying to get the ball. And that's the thing that frustrates me, RSV, because he was doing it last season under Ten Hag. That's why he got 16 goals in all comps last season. But we were also getting the ball in the box more frequently. Even under Rude, we were doing this a little bit more. So I don't know what happened, personally. Because his movement in the box is not bad. It's just for some reason we're not getting it in there as much as we used to. But again, can't excuse the performance against Fulham. That was atrocious. Rob says, BBC saying that Man United trying to send Gore and Amas out on loan. Yeah, I think that... sorry, I was just reading this other thing there. I can't remember. I thought I saw that Amas thing like a month or so ago. I haven't seen anything about Gore yet. Did they say where? Neil says United play Thursday. Now, have I been saying tomorrow? I'm sick, so I might not have thought about it. Or does the thumbnail say tomorrow or something? I think I was originally planning to do this one tomorrow, but I ended up doing tonight. So there's a chance I could have put tomorrow in the description. And if I'm saying tomorrow, then maybe in my cold-addled brain, I think it's Wednesday right now. Feels like Wednesday. It feels like I've had another day of my life. Danny says Morehouse has been around the first team. Morehouse looked good. Scanlon looks good. We have a lot of good players in the academy. Box says Xerxes is 6'4", never wins a header, and a lot of the time the ball ricochets off him as a first touch. Doesn't look like a natural goal scorer shooter. And again, like, I don't think we should play the strikers the way we've been playing them. But everybody's playing like that. We're not getting the ball forward enough. We're playing almost in a back five. So literally, when you've got 6 players on the pitch who are a little bit more defensive and they're not able to get the ball forward, or in the weird cases where the wingbacks get the ball, they get it to the touch and then they stop and pass it back, you have no choice but for your attackers to constantly stop and face their own goal. Garnacho is having to drop deep into his own half to get the ball. Ahmad against Fulham dropping deep in his own half to get the ball. Like, no time to turn, no space to turn, and it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not sure if that's tactical or what, but we're not moving the ball quick enough. There's not enough movement from anybody at any phase of attack, and it's killing us. We have no momentum whatsoever. Danny says Fitzgerald, Thwaites are like, yeah, Thwaites just signed that professional deal the other week, didn't he? But what do you guys think the score prediction is going to be for this one? Because we're about ready to wrap up here. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with a 2-win, but I think we're going to make hard work of it. I don't think it's going to be convincing because I have eyes and I've watched us play, and nothing about our performances has been convincing whatsoever. But I do think we're going to grab a 2-1 victory this one. And you can say, Sean, we've won 3 out of our 4 last matches. Yeah, again, we did. And again, 3 points is all that matters. But none of those performances were good. And so I have zero confidence that we'll be able to do something like that again. Box says, I'd give Xerxes time, but I think we give critique of Hoyland. The only fair we critique Xerxes. Yeah, we can critique everybody. I can critique performances and stuff, and we'll see. I know people are saying, it's so funny when people are like, they talk about Hoyland, they're like, you've been here 2 years, and I'm like, well, you're going, this is recency bias. You're literally only going on what you've seen the last couple months, because if you talked about it in the summer, you would be going after what he did last year. And last year he was our top scorer and had one of the best conversion rates in the league. So we're just forgetting the whole first year that this young 20-year-old striker did in his first season in English football. Like that to me lends a little bit more weight than a little bit of recency bias. Rob says BBC article was pretty vague and said United hopeful to loan them out. Yeah. And sometimes I'll read stuff and I'll look at it a little deeper. And if I don't see any sources or anything, then I just kind of move on. Or sometimes I'll just kind of pocket it in my brain for a later time. But if I don't see a whole lot of good sources or something, I'm like, eh. Danny's going 3-1. I'm going 2-1. Box says 0-1. So you're saying we're going to lose? Or 1-0, sorry. Yeah. Rob says I could see a draw, but hoping for a 3-0 win. Box saying 1-0. Yeah, seems like a lot of us are going to say maybe a little closer game besides Danny. Danny's going 3-1. So where are we getting those 3 goals from? Because last time we scored 3 goals, it was Ahmad single-handedly getting a hat trick, right? So we haven't done really great since. We're just not scoring a ton of goals. And I said that in my match review of the Fulham match. Like, where are the goals coming from? Because we can't rely on Ahmad to do that week in, week out. So if I look at our last couple of results, what is happening here? Just looking at our last couple of matches. Yeah, so yeah, the Southampton match, that was it. The other one, it was Rangers. Yeah, not great. Rich saying what I'm saying, 2-1 United. Box says, what's the most random United transfer rumor you've ever seen? The most random rumor I've ever seen, transfer rumor? This is a hard one. Probably that Sergio Ramos rumor. That was pretty random. When that came out, if you remember, that was like, what was that, under Van Gaal? That one kind of came out of nowhere. Rich says deflected shots. Hey, I'll take deflected shots. Ashley Young was notorious for those deflected shots when he was here still. Couple of own goals. I'll take that too. If Jack Butland can throw the ball in his own net, I'll take that any day of the week. It's better than our keepers doing it. All time. Neil says 2-0 United, Bruno Ahmad. Hey, I'll take it. I have no problem with that one. Clean sheets. And you know what? You guys know I love clean sheets. I'll take those any day of the week. Yeah, the most random one's probably got to be that Sergio Ramos rumor. I think we were linked with Neymar like maybe 8-9 years ago as well. That was pretty random. But the Sergio Ramos one was just so random. Like, I like Sergio Ramos. I think that when it comes to mentality, when it comes to elite mentality, Sergio Ramos is up there with the Roy Keanes and whatnot in terms of just elite mentality. But he's just, obviously we were just used for contract terms, so it is what it is. Box says, I remember the Igalo took me by surprise, but he turned out a decent loan. Actually, you know what? Not rumor, but the most random transfer was probably the Di Maria, because I remember at the time, just that one came out of nowhere, and I remember at the time being so excited because Di Maria was like one of the best players in the world at the time. It just didn't end up working out. He never wanted to be here. He didn't really enjoy his time. It was really a shame that didn't work out. But that was probably the most random transfer. But the most random rumors for me, probably that Sergio Ramos thing, because that was just felt like just random for no reason. Box says the Longstaff rumor under Ollie was a shock. I mean, to be fair, Longstaff does seem like an Ollie player. He's basically just a McTominay light, Sean Longstaff. Or was it Maddie? Rich says, G-Wolf tried to start a Vinicius Jr. to United rumor. It didn't take off. Nice. He would. That's funny. Box says, but to his credit, Longstaff stepped up for Newcastle. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he stepped up. At the end of the day, it's still Newcastle. So, I mean, stepping up for Newcastle is, like, cool. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but, I mean, that is a very Ole Gunnar profile player. Just, you know, heart, you're Fred, you're McTominay, you're just heart, you're Dan James, same kind of thing. Michael Owen to United. That's funny. So it sounds like we're all pretty much predicting a win. Close win, but a win. I think that the travel is going to hurt us. I think, obviously, we're not a very physical side, so I think we're probably going to have to ride the storm a little bit. But I do think we'll probably see it out, because I do think at the end of the day that the quality will trump it over the course of 90 minutes. It's just a matter of the mentality needs to be there. We need to be switched on defensively because they do pounce on loose balls in the box on set pieces. They are vulnerable with direct balls over the top and direct balls and long passes. So we need to make sure we take advantage of that, make some runs. So Rich says, it was funny. I think Rashford had to go to PSG as well. Yeah, it's funny. Rich and Vinny isn't demanding a move. Yeah. I would take Rodrigo over Vinny personally. I think Rodrigo would suit the league a little better. But that's just me. That's just me. Rich says, no injuries, no cards, no stupid mistakes, please. Yeah, no, I'll take that. No injuries. That's how I feel about every international break, every preseason tour. People are asking me, are you going to go see, are you excited about United maybe coming to the States? And I'm like, I hate preseason. I hate anything with the word friendly in it. I can't stand it. You can try to dress it up and call it Nations League or whatnot. Still a friendly. I hate it because all I see is injuries every time. If we can make it through a preseason without injuries, it'll be a godsend personally, but we can't score goals, but what the hell? Yeah, I mean, you got to be optimistic, right? That's how, right? Bug says, I see Porto in the relegation zone and Roma close to it as well. Would be good if they got eliminated. Yeah, I mean, it does help if some of those bigger sides are out of it. So Danny says, injuries so far so good under Amorim. Yes. And I was looking at Dogu. Dogu's had like one injury, and it was like 5 days he missed one match, and that was like 2 seasons ago, or maybe last season. So that's good for us, but he's still young, so give it time. You come to United, again, it's like this portal. You cross through that threshold, whether you're a coach or a player, you just go from great to crap. It happens every time. It just is what it is. Rob says, St. Maximin went to Saudi, but is playing in Turkey. I take the Saint. I liked him when he was at Newcastle. I don't think he's as good as a lot of people thought he was, but maybe I think the headband caught people. But that is going to do it for me, you guys. Nigel says, yep, sold injury record from Dogu. Yeah. And that's why even when we're linked to guys like Nuno Mendes, when we're linked to guys like Alphonso Davies, I'm always a little iffy because the way we just struggle with injuries, I can't handle any more injury-prone players. But I've been proven wrong before with De Ligt and Mazraoui, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to go check on the dogs and see how everybody's doing. So thank you guys for stopping by. Please hit the like button on your way out. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. Hopefully, maybe we can stop by again tomorrow if we get any of these deals over the line, any more transfer business. Maybe we'll just do a transfer show. I do have a class on Thursday, and then we've obviously got Europa League, so probably not going to see you on Thursday. But until then, take it easy, enjoy your night, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Later.